fanning the flames to create unrest, using economic and financial hegemony to sanction opponents, and forming cliques to conduct political isolation. The United States against Russia let us see its hegemony to provoke conflicts and undermine the international order. When the United States launched sweeping sanctions against Russia, the shadow behind the conflict between Russia and Ukraine was clear. Through NATO eastward expansion, constantly squeezed Russia's security space. Did Moscow, then, by encouraging Ukraine to join NATO, intensified Russia-Ukraine conflict, constantly angered Russia, finally let both sides. Sanctions are a weapon for the United States to weaken its adversaries and interfere in other domestic affairs. For Russia, the United States is doing its best to use sanctions, from kicking some Russian banks out of the SWIFT system, to the abolition of trade-based treatment with Russia, from depriving the Russian rich of overseas assets, to restricting the sale of Russian vodka. The sanctions on Russia involve economic, finance, technology, and other fields. Wolf-pack tactics are also tactics commonly used by the United States against other countries. In addition to itself, the United States has also led European countries, Australia, Japan, and many other allies to fight against Russia, trying to turn the ruble into paper and make Russia a pariah. With the joint efforts of the United States and its allies, Russia has faced the most sanctions in recent years. From 2014 to March 7th, Russia received 5,532 sanctions, 2,778 of which were added since February 22nd. The World Bank forecasts that Ukraine's GDP will shrink by about 45.1% this year due to the Russia-Ukraine crisis. The war brought disaster to both Russia and Ukraine, but the Americans benefited. Since the outbreak of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the United States has violated the rod of its own economic order and waived sanctions, reducing the credit of the dollar-based world economic system. The dollar has been weaponized with the failure of its own policies. The Treasury is the medium of the value store, and the negative real returns is likely to recur. In reality, American hegemonism and destruction of the international order can only bite themselves.